How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Brendan Ecker Influence or Ecker Geopolitics. Tonight, 7 p.m., we are at war with Iran, and Pete Hegseth is going hard on Iran. We want more Iran, more war with Iran, right? That is the objective. That's the goal, of course. That is the overall goal of what's happening right now in the war. And so, what do you guys think about it? Like, share, comment, subscribe, do what you got to do. But we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Pete Hegseth, his statements on everything that's going on. We're going to be talking about all of the false flags that allegedly are happening surrounding Israel and Iran and all of these events that are happening on ETS. Again, we're going to cover it all. We're going to cover it all. So what do you guys think? Let's break right into it. So honestly, what do you guys think about things? I think we're heading into a 20-year war at least. I think there's pretty much no way around it. That is definitely going to be the inevitable outcome here. And I think there's just, again, really no way around it. So I wanted to start off with this statement by Pete Hegseth. This was posted by Eric Doherty. And holy smokes, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just said we haven't seen anything yet. So the Trump administration is on board for more war, and that's what's happening now. That is the goal. So let's hear what Pete Hegseth had to say. Again, this is loading because everything's always got to be slow. It's almost like they know I'm streaming and they don't want people to watch this video, so they're going to make sure, Twitter X is going to make sure that no live streamers can look at this actual video. Of course, right when I want to show it. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that the best? See, now we get it all working, but then it's not going to play. It's always the case. It's just so great. Okay, I guess we have to start all over. All right. Well, okay. So I guess we're going to start somewhere else. Iran fires I can't even pronounce this, Khorramshahr ballistic missile and cluster munition warheads at Israel. Iran's former supreme leader's X account posted on an image of the missile writing, Khorramshahr moments on the horizon, has 2,000 kilometer range and can carry a warhead of up to 1.5 tons capable of dispersing dozens of submunitions. More than 100 countries have banned cluster munitions, but Iran, Israel, and the United States, China, Russia, and Ukraine are signatories to the treaty prohibiting their use. Imagine seeing that coming down from the sky. Seriously. So let's check it. Let's look at these videos. This is what's happening. Iran's sending these over to Israel right now. So it looks like Iran's fighting back. Iran's not just backing down here. They're not just laying down. They're not rolling over as anticipated by the Trump administration, Rubio. They're fighting back. The Iranians are fighting for their sovereignty. They're fighting for their independence, and they're not just going to roll over. Okay, they're not going to roll over like a lot of these countries do, that we're seeing in the UK, for example. So they're fighting back. They have fealty to Khomeini, and this is revenge. This is retaliation for really starting an unprovoked war. Okay, so ultimately that's pretty much what's going on right now. That's the main problem with this entire event. Okay, so a lot of people are going to die. A lot of U.S. soldiers are going to die. We have the U.S. soldiers taking statements now from their commanders that Jesus Christ, the Messiah, is going to come back at the end of the world because of this war and all of these things. And it's honestly just wild. It's honestly just wild. So this is pretty much what's happening. That's the biggest story that just came up. I wanted to start with the Pete Hegseth, but I guess we'll get to that. The U.S. Department of Justice is expected to release more than 47,000 previously withheld files related to Jeffrey Epstein by the end of the week. That's interesting. And then you can't make this up. U.S. government officially stealing a tech from, I love when people make Twitter X typos, a tech from Iran and using it against Iran. Remember, Iran is under extreme embargo for decades.
Made America on it, brought it back here. And
so let's check this out.
At the Iranians. Lucas, indispensable. As many of you know, and if you don't know, this was an original Iranian drone design. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a little.
So the reverse engineered Iranian drone technology.
Iranians. Good targets.
So that's what we're doing. I mean, we're not doing this to any other country. We're just kind of doing this to Iran. Can't really tell you a reason. We'll say Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration will say that it's oil. They'll say that it's for all these other reasons, but ultimately it's for. You know who, right? So again, this is Pete Hegseth signing the war powers, basically very excited to go to war with Iran. Hegseth is kind of, I don't know, man. He really believes that this is like the end times and that this is a good thing they're doing, that they believe that this is a holy thing, that they're bringing forth the second coming of Christ.
Everyone else already has. So here you have it.
I don't see any of these people as anointed to make that call, personally. This is not going to be good. Not going to be good. We're not going to win this war.
America's Counter-Cartel Conference Joint Security Declaration, affirming our relationships, respecting sovereignty, recognizing the strategic importance of this hemisphere, and declaring our intent to expand multilateral and bilateral cooperation to enhance security in the hemisphere, to cooperate.
Look at all these generals behind them,
border security,
politicians.
Narco-terrorism and trafficking, securing critical infrastructure, and other areas to be determined, advancing peace through strength, as was so eloquently said by so many speakers here. It means something to address.
This is going to come so hard on Republicans.
Mutual interest and
this is not going to be good.
Together to combat narco-terrorism and other shared threats in the Western Hemisphere. Signed March 5th, the year of our Lord 2026, in English and Spanish. How about that?
So before the war, it's all Hanukkah stuff. It's all, celebrating the Jewish faith and all of this, which is great. We love that. But how come we're never talking about Christianity unless we want to send a bunch of white Christians to fight in this war with Iran for 20 years? Why is that always the case? You see all these military ads so we can send U.S. troops over to fight and die for Israel. It's like, no, I'm not in. I'm good. No thanks. Not into it. This is Alex Barnicoat. His account is interesting because he's been getting banned across the platforms because he's been really documenting what's been going on with the Israel-Iran situation and the entire geopolitical aspects of this. So
by the Iranian.
I downloaded I bookmarked a few of these videos. We're going to watch a few of these and just kind of see what's going on today. He covers the war happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Israel right now, what's happening in Iran. And so let's take a watch.
Some breaking news. Iran has shot down an American fighter jet, and the US tried to deny it, but Iran released this footage in response, proving they have shot it down. And there's some things that you need to know. Well, yesterday, an American F-15 fighter jet crashed just west of Tehran.
We have F-15s in the Middle East. We have boots on ground in the Middle East. It's happening. It's happening. There's no way around it. It's just happening, and there's nothing we can do about it except be on Twitter and become geopolitical analysts, I guess, right?
After it bombed Iran. Now, the fighter jet pilot ejected and he safely landed in Iran. Now, obviously, though, he wouldn't have wanted to be captured by the Iranians. And so the US quickly found out where he was and they sent a helicopter crew to go and evacuate him out of Iran. And they successfully did that. Now, the US claims that it just crashed and Iran did not shoot it down. They actually denied the Iranian claims that they had shot it down. Now, we got footage today in response to the US denying that by Iran. And that footage quite clearly shows Iran shooting down the American F-15 fighter jet. We don't know what shot it down, whether it was a missile, whether it was another fighter jet, whether it was an air defense system, etc. We don't know. All we know is that Iran has released this footage of them shooting down an American F-15 fighter jet, only moments after the US claimed it just crashed and Iran had nothing to do with it.
Oh boy.
This is a huge embarrassment to the US, and I don't think the US is going to recover from this. It's the first jet they've lost due to Iran. And so you can leave me a follow because I'm going to be keeping you up to date.
Mind you that Iran has 90 million people. This is a massive country. It is way bigger than Iraq. And think about how hard Iraq was to win. And win. Did we win? You could say that if you compared it to Saddam Hussein. But if you compared it to U.S. troops lost and the casualties we had on U.S. soil, maybe not. Maybe not. Breaking, the U.S. quietly just gave banks the green light to hold tokenized securities, and this is big. The Fed, the OCC, the FDIC just released a joint statement, three of America's most powerful financial regulators speaking with one voice. The message was simple. Tokenized securities get the same capital treatment as traditional securities. Same rules, same collateral treatment as traditional securities, same risk weighting. Blockchain or no blockchain makes no difference. This is bigger than most people realize. Banks were previously sitting on the sidelines waiting for regulatory clarity on crypto assets. That excuse just disappeared. A tokenized treasury bond is now treated exactly like a treasury bond on a bank's balance sheet. A tokenized stock is treated exactly like a regular stock, permissioned blockchain or public blockchain. Doesn't matter. Same treatment. What this means in plain English. Every major U.S. bank can now hold, trade, and use tokenized assets as collateral without any regulatory penalty. Trillions of dollars in traditional assets are about to find a new home in blockchain. The Wall Street just got permission to move into crypto on a bigger scale. So again, it shows Jerome Powell here in the first image. Second image shows the capital treatment of tokenized securities frequently asked questions. And then if you zoom into this, there has been increasing interest in representing ownership rights in securities use distributed ledger technology. Such securities are often referred to as tokenized securities. This document provides answers to several frequently asked questions, blah, 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 blah. Capital rule for banking organizations implemented by the Office of Controller of Currency, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, together the federal banking agencies, is together neutral. The technologies used to issue and transact in a security do not generally impact its capital treatment. Accordingly, an eligible tokenized security should be treated in the same manner as the tokenized form of the security would be treated under the capital rule. Similarly, a derivative that references an eligible tokenized security should be treated for capital purposes as a derivative that references the non-tokenized form of security. As with the exposure, banking organizations holding tokenized securities must apply sound risk management practices and comply with applicable regulations. Then underlined at the bottom of this form, it says, no, the capital rule does not provide a different treatment based on the use of permissioned or permissionless blockchains. So what does that mean? Permissionless or permissionable blockchains. Well, that means I hear XRP. I hear Bitcoin. I hear Ethereum. I hear anything that is a commodity, a utility, used and basically mentioned by the Trump administration. So what are these cryptocurrencies? And why is it so important that I'm talking about cryptocurrency when we're talking about war? I made this entire episode about the Iran war. But I wanted to talk about crypto also because crypto has a massive role in this entire war. And let me tell you why. Crypto is going to be the new financial infrastructure. If you didn't already understand this, then, well, let me fill you in. XRP is a cross-border payments transaction, a utility currency, and this is what it's really made for. It is made for quick transactions, cheap transactions, seamless transactions, fast transactions. Basically, it's going to replace the SWIFT banking system, 1,500 transactions per second, and at the same time, it also has a unit of account. Also has a CEO, has a company, and at the same time, this company does not, or the CEO in that group of executive does not have full control over the asset itself. So in all respects, XRP, the company Ripple, is basically the winner of this crypto race. And we can all basically agree on that. We can disagree on that. But ultimately, here is what's going to happen. With XRP, it is going to allow Bitcoin to basically exist. And that's how it's going to work. Bitcoin is already slow. It's basically useless without the XRP ledger. It has to run on the XRP ledger. A lot of people don't know this. And the Bitcoin Nazis will fight this until the very end. They refuse to believe that this is a fact. But, this is what the institutions are saying. This is not my opinion. I'm going off of data. I'm going off of what Larry Fink is saying. I'm going off of what even Michael Saylor has said. Okay? So we have to take into account who the winners are going to be. And those winners are going to be, again, XRP. Then it'll be Bitcoin. It'll be HBAR, the infrastructure, the pipeline system. You will probably see prices fluctuate with ADA Cardano as the smart contract software, along with Ethereum, which allows that smart contracts universe to exist. And basically, those will be it. You'll have Algorand. You'll have XLM, Stellar Lumens, of course. That'll be for payments. X Money may even be using XLM. It's debatable. We don't really know yet what X Money, Elon's company, X Money, what that's going to use. But we've heard, based on the buzz in Twitter X, that it could be either XRP or it could be XLM or HBAR. So basically, these three different currencies or assets, these technologies, you could say, will basically be in control of what's really going to be coming with how we afford this war with Iran, right? It's going to basically afford us and allow us to continue doing some really bad things when it comes to Iran and getting ourselves involved in these wars. but it's also going to allow the United States to acquire Greenland. It's going to allow the entire United States to really fulfill its obligations and its missions of also controlling Venezuela. And then this will be an effort of really toppling China and Russia and a lot of their alliances, and then even the EU and the United Nations. And so it's going to be, long term, this is not going to be great for America because we're killing our allies. And we're not literally killing them. Maybe sometimes we are as Americans, as American troops, as American diplomats, politicians, aristocrats, we are. But in that context, cryptocurrency, digital assets, that's what they're really rolling out. They want this central bank digital currency, and this will eventually pretty much be the new financial reset, the new black swan event, whatever you want to call it. This is what people are really pretty much talking about, which you're not allowed to talk about. So that's kind of the real importance of cryptocurrency and how it plays a role into the Iran war and why it's worth paying attention to. Okay, so now that I'm done with that rant, I wanted to go on. Raw alerts, President Donald Trump has officially fired and removed Kristi Noem from her position as Secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security. In a rapid leadership shakeup, Trump has nominated U.S. Senator Markwayne Mullin to succeed Noem as the next Secretary of Homeland Security. So big news, Kristi Noem's been replaced as the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. So ultimately that is big news because, listen, we already remember that the Department of Homeland Security was being run from a certain account in a certain place that we'll try to refrain from saying too much in this stream because I've been just getting so many strikes on YouTube for it, and that's not my intent at all. We're trying to determine the truth here. We're not trying to offend anybody. We're trying to determine the truth with all of this information here, and there's a lot of it. So the White House also released 3 hours ago, and I had to play this because I was in disbelief. Okay, the White House released a meme of SpongeBob SquarePants and made a joke and said, "Will not stop until the objectives are met, unrelenting, unapologetic."
You want to see me do it again?
And so this
You want
was
to see
the
me do
meme.
it again?
And so they created this loop, the White House, and it's just, it's really, it's very distasteful. It's not good for morale. It's not good for the image of America. This works for when you're the superpower, but what happens when these countries are going to retaliate against our grandkids? These countries in 30 years, they're going to be coming back for America after all of this. These sons and daughters of these Iranians who are being killed, they're going to come back for Americans. And what happens when these Democrats and these liberals win in 2028? And when they let these people flood the border, these Iranian refugees? Yes, you're going to see that, by the way. What happens? We're all screwed because they are going to come for Americans, Christians even, Jews, in retaliation. And this is going to happen. So the White House being so insensitive to this issue, people dying, a real war, real human beings, real lives at stake, real U.S. soldiers being killed over this war for Israel. And it's really, really, really disheartening. Again, they're making this into a meme, a SpongeBob meme. That's the importance of this issue to the White House, is to make this into a SpongeBob meme. Now, I got a sense of humor. Okay, I understand. It's funny. But at the same time, it's like it does not represent America and what this country is all about. Every act of war directed to the indiscriminate destruction of holy sites or vast areas with their inhabitants is a crime against God and man, which merits firm and unequivocal condemnation. That is 2314, Catholicism of the Catholic Church. Okay?
What?
And we provoked this war, the United States and Israel. Now, I'm not going to just be all anti-American here, because ultimately it's not the American people who did this. This is the American politicians. This is the cabal in the United States. This is the deep state who did this. When I look at this, this is the, okay, do I have to say it? We know who it is. All right. A very special country in a very special place on the other side of the world is occupying America, and they are getting us into this war. And now we are watching these videos every day instead of working on our homes, instead of renovating your home, instead of working on your home and fixing your home, investing in real estate. working with me and hiring me as your real estate agent because I'm such a great real estate agent. Instead of this, you're doom scrolling with Brendan Ecker. You're watching videos of the war, analyzing the situation, monitoring the situation, and we're all just pretty much waiting for something to happen. And so I tell you, spread the word, share this info, like, share, comment, subscribe so we can all make some money. This needs to be stopped. All of this. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I made this show. It's because this is crazy. We can't allow this in our country. We can do so much better. This is the arms sales in the USA versus the USSR from 1950 to 2017. Take a look at this. This is crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Look at since 1959, the top 10 recipients in the 1960s, and then look at that. So Germany, Egypt, Poland, look at all these countries, and then China. This is scary. Look at that arms race. Where was all of that coming? Crazy. But look at how many guns we've sold since 1950 up to 2017. That is power. And you could just keep going on, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And by the end of this, you pretty much learn. Where's the end of this? Look at that. Look at who we've armed. All these other countries. Insane. Okay. So moving on. This was another big story. Again, we kind of covered it earlier in the first video. But breaking, Iran publishes video of the downing of a U.S. jet. Iran now has actually shot down one F-15, I believe it was. So they're not good, not good. This clip from Sneeko. I've been following Professor Yang. This war is being fought to control the consciousness of the human race. This is a war for the soul of humanity. World War III is meant to be the last and final war of all humanity. So this is what Professor Yang had to say about what's happening now geopolitically on the spectrum. Follow his YouTube channel. Follow Sneeko as well on X. But he's been interviewing Professor Yang from the Predictive History YouTube channel, and I've been really enjoying the content. So be sure to do the same thing. Follow Sneeko, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to Predictive History.
This war is being fought to control the consciousness of the human race, because it is our consciousness that creates reality itself. Okay? That's why this is happening. In other words, this is a war not just for Iran.
Yep.
This is a war not just for the Middle East. It is a war for the soul of humanity. This is what's happening, guys.
I would agree with that.
It's what World War III is. World War III is meant to be the last and final war of all human history. Because whoever wins this war will control the very soul of human existence for all of eternity. Okay?
Is this not insane? Like, zoom out from where we're at. Like, how did we get here? You know, how did we get here where we are in World War III? We could potentially be the last people on Earth. You never really know. When you think about it, with the power of nuclear capabilities in all of these countries, America being number one, Russia being number two, and then you have all of these other countries, China growing, developing, Israel, of course, growing and developing. What happens in this next 20, 30, 40, 50 years? If we have 50 years left, what happens in 100 years? Will there still be human beings? Are we the last of humanity? And so this is why Professor Yang is saying this is a battle for the soul of humanity. AI versus humanity. The merging of man versus machines comes after this, all of this.
That is the end game. And I know this is hard to understand, but as we go along, I will explain this to you. Okay, that is the grand secret behind the world. Everything that you believe, everything that you see today, it's all an illusion. The reality, the truth, is that consciousness is a source of all power of reality itself. And so
Indeed.
This is a war for human consciousness. It's a war for the very soul of humanity. Okay? Any questions?
So what do you guys think? Is this the final battle, or are we being psyoped? I think we're actually being psyoped. I don't believe that this is the end of times. I think that this war can and still could be prevented. I think there are actions that can be taken over this next 5-10 years that can stop all of the things that are coming, even at this current rate. It really only takes people being awake and spreading the information. It really only takes people taking action. You who are watching, you run for politics. You educate yourself. You become entrepreneurial. You become resourceful. Okay, this is the key. This is the key. This is the difference between the 1% and the 99%. You have to be of agency. You have to be able to achieve anything that you want to do, your desires. You cannot have this Fitz mentality of, oh, I can't achieve this. I can't achieve this. I cannot achieve this. This is unreachable. No, everything is reachable. Everything is within grasp, but you must go and take it. And so, like the elites, these elites, good, evil, the best of the best, they go and take it. They take the power. They secure it. Because if you don't, as somebody who's good-hearted, hopefully, if you're good-hearted and you're not securing the power, then it will be your enemies, your opposition. So that is why it's important to rise and to ascend, whether it's through entrepreneurship, whether it's through occupation. Maybe you're a lawyer or something. Maybe you make money doing that, working for somebody else, but you're making money doing it, right? You have power. And then you also have authority to change the world in those senses, right? As an entrepreneur, as an attorney, as these levels of power, you can really change things and you can actually have control and disrupt things. But you have to be able to have agency and do it and take action, because this is what the elites do. Same thing with this. This is the same thing with writers, strategists. Ultimately, anybody can change the world, but you have to be the one to do it. It starts with you. So Mario Nawfal, he posted again those Iranian strikes on Israel, firing missiles equipped with cluster warheads. How do you pronounce this again? Kara Mashar. Kora Mashar. I don't know. I'll just call it that. The words, I could never pronounce these words. It's just like, it's too much of a headache. Raw alerts, watch as Austin officials release body cam footage of them taking down the Islamist gunmen who opened fire on people at a bar in downtown Austin. Let's take a look at this video. Give this cop some respect. Give this police officer some respect. I know how scary it is and how crazy it is. And these calls can happen to any police officer at any time, no matter who you are on the job. This can happen. Went right into action.
He's on 6th Street.
This guy did everything right. This cop did everything right. He's scanning the area. He's got his gun out.
Where is he? Who shot?
Where is he? Where is he? Oh, okay, they pointed him out. Looks like he's right here, right where my cursor is. And then he kind of... Let's count those gunshots.
Who shot?
2, 3, 4. Hold on. One more time.
Hey, who shot?
Sounds like he almost released a whole mag on him, but it also sounds like there was exchanging gunfire. Obviously, you could kind of hear you could hear the assailant's gunfire in there too. Yeah, but God bless this police officer. Did the right thing.
The suspect is down.
Took action, executed properly, did everything right.
Stop moving! Stop moving!
That's all normal.
Move!
Right now, this cop's probably in shock. He's just realizing what just happened. Obviously, this is a very traumatic event, traumatic moment. And so, again, this is the dialogue that tends to happen when you get in these situations.
Stop move! I'm on the suspect. Move here now. I'm on the 6th and west. Over there.
And so that was what happened there. So again, that took place in Austin, and there was, I believe, it was 14 casualties. I think 3 were killed. I believe. Let's take one more fact check on that. So I'm making sure I'm right. This post shares Austin police body cam footage from March 2nd, 2026 shooting at Buford's Bar, showing officers advancing through a neon-lit street and firing on suspect Ndiaga Diagne after he killed 3 and wounded 16. So he wounded 16 and then killed 3. Video captures chaotic nighttime response with muzzle flashes illuminating the suspect in a white shirt as he collapses, demonstrating precise marksmanship that likely prevented further casualties in crowded district. Diagne, a 53-year-old Senegalese-born U.S. citizen with Bronx ties, had no prior terror flags beyond a 2022 mental health check, prompting FBI scrutiny into potential Islamist motives amid unconfirmed online radicalization claims. One thing Grok is not saying there that he did have a Free Allah T-shirt on when he was killed, when all of this went down. But God bless this police officer. God bless all of our police officers. Law and order is important. This is what happens. If we were to defund the police, what happens to the rest of those people? 3 were killed, but what could have happened to the other 16? That's my question. What happens when we defund the police? Thank God for this cop. Just good work. We got to have the police on some degree. At the same time, the police have to be constitutional officers. They got to defend the people first, and remember that the people always have more power. You got to protect the people first. So that's ultimately it, and that's exactly what that cop did. So according to the Wall Street Mav, the U.S. is bombing underground missile facilities in Iran. This was posted 5 hours ago. This guy is in the background. The guy in the background says, "I've only seen something like this in Call of Duty." So let's take a look at this video. It's only 14 seconds. Welcome to World War III. That's what I have to say. Welcome to World War III. Hope you're having a good time. I hope you're enjoying your stay here on planet Earth. And if you're really looking for a show, then just stick around. We're coming into the social credit system next.
What the fuck?
Yep. Bombs are flying and people are dying. And that's because our leaders wanted to make money. So, update from the Andrew Tate, the legend, the top G. This video was filmed a few hours before the attempted border crossing. Andrew is currently offline and being questioned. So, let's take a look at this video. Let's do a commentary on this. I love Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is a true leader. And, I don't agree with everything he says on women and whatnot. But, at the end of the day, he's a fucking champ. And he's definitely a good role model for men.
2.5 hours we've been sat here.
In the mountains.
So again, if you don't know the backstory, Andrew Tate was essentially, I think he was trying to cross the border into Dubai or into a war zone, Iran or something. I don't know what the story is yet, but I guess we're about to find out.
Ate all my M&Ms. Ran out of emergency supplies. Some kind of war. Some kind of war problem. Something about borders, refugees, visas, laws. Some kind of war crap.
See, Andrew's got to be careful though, man. I mean, he doesn't have the greatest rep, and they're definitely going after him. He's definitely putting a target on his back. I don't really know why, but gotta get those flits, I guess, right? Because we're making reaction videos on it.
There has. We have heard loud bangs.
What did he say there? I was talking.
There has been machine guns strapped on top of cars driving by.
There has. We have heard loud bangs. 2.5 hours we've been stuck here. Any smokes? No. Got any Iran?
It looks like Tristan Tate is here now in this video.
How about on your Kazakh hat? Road warrior.
The Tate brothers.
Kazakhstan. This hat isn't about Kazakhstan. It's about being a road warrior. Why have we been stuck here for 2.5 hours? Because that's the nature of the game. You know what? Genuinely, I forgot what being a normal person is like. And when you're a normal person, you need to have patience. I forgot about that. Because, I get straight on the jet, straight off the jet. Mr. Tate.
Yeah, have patience in World War III. Come on, guys.
Right to the front, VIP. I totally forgot that normal people have to wait for lines and shit. Lines.
We've been waiting all day.
Waiting.
Pays to be rich.
This
is why you need to be resourceful. This is Andrew's point. You got to make money. You have to be... You gotta be of high elite capital because you have to be able to, move around. When you gotta move around, when you want to move around, you gotta be able to move around.
I don't have to.
If you don't have money, you can't do that, and that's the point he's making.
Wait for anything. They give me what I want right away. They're waiting for me. They treat me better than they treat anyone else. All the service. If a location has X amount of service, all the service goes to me, and everyone else has to share a fraction of my leftovers. They share the breadcrumbs as I enjoy the feast of service, because I'm a globally renowned A-list celebrity. But on this particular adventure, I'm like a normal man. I'm like a normal guy. I like it. No, it's shit. and I forgot how spoiled I am.
The
I
Tate
cannot wait to
brothers.
get back to the private jet terminal and then hand me a cigar and say, Mr. Tate, your jet's ready. Get straight on the plane. Because even the other people who fly private, you're not a celebrity. You may have money. You're not the top. I'm the most loved man alive.
What else
It's
does he have to
I'm
say?
being forced to ingest a shit sandwich. And what I should say is that I don't mind doing a shit sandwich. You know, it's actually a good thing to do a shit sandwich sometimes to go back to being grateful. Now, fuck all that.
Ciao, ciao.
Hi, guys.
If you guys been following the drama with Andrew Tate and Sneeko, that's been kind of funny to follow.
We're waiting for the bus.
We're on the bus.
We're on the bus. Yes, bro, I'm on the bus. Yeah, I'm trying to get back to Dubai. I'm on the bus.
Where's your car?
Well, we didn't bring a car. We flew here, and now we're going to take this bus across the border.
Is he
Thank
doing
you,
an
Chief.
accent?
Thank you, bro.
Sounded like he was doing an
Celebrity
accent.
status.
At least the police ain't arresting
Bit
me.
of recognition, you know?
At least the cops ain't arresting me. Anyway, the moral to this story is that sometimes it's good to go back to remember and appreciate how far you've come and how spoiled you are, but fuck all that. I don't want to go back. I don't want to live like you fucking people. I don't want to not be famous. The best thing ever is to be rich and no one know who you are, said the fucking coward who's afraid of a little bit of jail or a few assassination attempts. No, everyone's going to know who the
I love
fuck
the
I
energy.
am. And everyone's going to know how fucking rich I am. That's what I want. You know me. You know my face.
This is the energy we need to bring back to America. Like, this is why I like Andrew Tate. I love that energy. You know, that's like, he reminds me of like my old football coaches, my old coaches in sports, baseball, and all the sports I played. And that was always, that was always the mentality that I always grew up with. So, and today, like going in college, I grew up with completely the opposite. So we got to have more of this Tate level energy.
Know me, everyone fucking knows me. Random cops in random GCC countries know me. I went to Kazakhstan and we got fucking mobbed in Istanbul. I'm the most famous man alive. Everyone fucking knows me. I don't want to go back. That's how I want to stay. Give me my shit pronto. Rich as fuck, A-list, Mr. Important. This experience of going back to being one of you is revolting.
The
So we better
elitists.
fix our fucking
The
bus
elitists.
so I can get on my dirt bike. We're gonna be riding at night at this fucking time. We're gonna end up in the desert in the dark because of this fucking delay. Everything was planned perfectly.
And that's Andrew Tate for you. And that was his trip. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Not really sure why he's across the border, a war border. So this was another interesting statement. I wanted to, well, not a statement, interesting post by Shadow of Ezra, but this was a statement by Randy Fine, and he was demanding that Tucker Carlson be excommunicated from the Republican Party because he attacked Shabbat Lubavitch, who he said are the best group of Jews out there. He says nobody in history has ever had anything bad to say about Shabbat Lubavitch. We have a cancer in this country. It is anti-Semitism, and Tucker Carlson represents it. End quote. That's from Randy Fine. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about that. We'll try to be polite here.
It is easy to criticize anti-Semitism when it happens on the other side. It is more difficult to address it when it happens on your own. It was not enough for Tucker Carlson to a few days ago say every Jew should have to do a DNA test to prove that they were Jewish. It was not enough for him to say that a terrorist should be able to kill us if they are under 18 years old.
He did not say that. Tucker Carlson never said that. Tucker Carlson is not anti-Semitic. At least in my opinion, I don't see that. And what this argument is about is the alleged occupation of America by the fifth column of what many believe to be the Israeli state. That is what others believe to be the case. That is what appears to be the case. And so that is the argument that's being made. That is why there is this contention between Republicans and a lot of these Zionists in Washington, D.C. This is the battle that's kind of happening. And this is what Randy Fine is saying. I'm not on his side at all either. This is my point. We can't have dual agency or dual loyalty in this country, in my opinion. And I just don't think that it's okay. We can't have our own journalists like Tucker Carlson, who we all love Tucker Carlson. Everybody knows Tucker Carlson isn't anti-Semitic. Everybody knows Tucker Carlson is pretty honest, forthright, seeking the truth. And then the argument will be, well, his father worked in the CIA. It's like, yeah, a lot of patriots worked in the CIA, though. A lot of patriots worked in the CIA. A lot of patriots work in the FBI. So they can't have an opinion. So they can't like ever say anything. They can't investigate anything. That's crazy. So I trust Tucker Carlson as long as, he's sticking to the America First principles. I trust anybody in Washington, Democrat, Republican, Jew, or Gentile, as long as you care about America first, you care about the sanctity and the power of America first and foremost, above any other country. The loyalty and nationalism of America must be first and foremost.
But yesterday, Tucker Carlson attacked perhaps the best, the most good group of Jews that are out there, a group of people who see their job to evangelize not other Jews, but Jews themselves, Chabad, a group that no one ever has anything bad to say about because they care about everyone. I wear a kippah.
What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with Randy Fine? I don't know.
From UF Chabad today in honor of them. We have a cancer in this country. It is anti-Semitism, and Tucker Carlson represents it. He is many things, but one thing President Trump and I agree on is he is certainly not MAGA. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is so not true, and that is so horrible for him to say. That is so un-American for him to say, and very treasonous. No, Tucker Carlson is not an anti-Semite. I think we all know Tucker Carlson's a patriot. He's a truth teller. He's a truth seeker, and nobody's perfect, but I'd rather listen to Tucker Carlson any day than Randy Fine or any of these Congress people who want to claim that we're all anti-Semites just because we're questioning the current state of Israel and their actions and their a lot of their influence over the United States today and the way that they really just kind of strong arm Americans into things. There's just it just needs to stop. It's not American. It's not American. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just said we haven't seen anything yet. We have only just begun to fight. Yeah, so this was the video I wanted to actually start out with, but video just wasn't playing at the time. So here, let's start this over. Let's hear what oh my God, sorry. Let's hear what Pete Hegseth had to say about the total dominance over the skies of Iran.
Of defensive and offensive weapons allow us to sustain this campaign as long as we need to. Again, our munition status only increases as our advantage increases. Our capabilities, we have only just begun to fight.
He says this like it's a good thing. Like he's like excited. Like why is Pete Hegseth excited about this? Why is he excited about this war? Like he really believes that we are like this whole war is to bring forth the second coming of Christ. And it's like, no, actually this is a manipulated war. This is a political war. This is what's been done for centuries, for millennia. They are trying to start World War III. They are looking for an excuse to start World War III, and they're using the biblical excuse. They're using the Bible as an excuse to get everybody on board with war. Okay, and it's like, just because there are stories in the Bible that replicate a lot of what's happening today, it's because we are manifesting these realities. We are manifesting it. Humanity is manifesting the prophecies. That is how prophecies become true. People hear about them, they learn about a prophecy, and then they manifest it in real life. You make these things happen for yourself in real life, and people don't realize how easy it actually is. And it's like, then yet people can't do this with their own goals, with their own priorities, but we can do this with war, and it's just crazy. So this is why, this is so un-okay, and this is not how anybody representing America or our Secretary of War, this is not how they should be speaking. We need to be smarter, higher IQ, strategic. This can never be allowed. We can never allow this kind of rhetoric, this kind of psychography to ever be, given power, because this is what happens. We end up in a war for theological reasons, for theological purposes. And, hey, listen, there's a reason we have separation of church and state, Pete Hegseth.
And fight decisively, having a chance to hear from.
He thinks this war is biblical. It's not.
Admiral Cooper.
They're making it biblical. They're trying to make it biblical. That is the point I'm trying to make.
Think you've seen something, just wait. The amount of combat power that's still flowing, that's still coming, that will be able to project over Iran is a multiples of what it currently is right now when you add up our capabilities and those of the Israeli Defense Forces.
More war.
And we have no shortage of authorities. Stockpiles of
Well, isn't that just great? Isn't that like the best news you've heard all day? Instead of, learning about how we can all get some real estate, how the interest rates are coming down, instead of all that, instead of owning a home, forget about that. Forget about having a $250,000 a year salary. Forget about it. You got to run for Congress to do that. It's like, now we're just going to go to war. And we're going to give that money to other countries who hate us because of our endless appeal system. Again, more updates from Alex Barnicoat. Breaking news, America at war with Iran. Here's an update on what's happening. I think we already saw that video. Let's look at this video. This is the second video I wanted to look at.
All across the Middle East in a way to try and drag other countries into the war. Some breaking news, it's been reported that Israel is carrying out false flag attacks all across the Middle East.
Again, we don't know if this is true or false. We're determining the truth here. We're trying to determine the truth. We're analyzing these videos. We're not saying any of this to be fact. We're analyzing these videos and we're breaking it down. So none of this is to offend anybody. This is to inform anybody, right?
In a way to try and drag other countries into the war to fight against Iran in support of Israel. For context, only moments ago, the UK said that an Iranian drone was not responsible for the drone attack on the UK military base on the 2nd of March. But as well as that, Iran has denied that they bombed the Saudi oil refinery. As well as that, they've denied that they bombed Turkey yesterday, which resulted in NATO shooting down that Iranian drone. Well, the fact that Iran has denied all of these attacks and now the UK has confirmed that it was not actually an Iranian drone which bombed them is making a lot of people here think that Israel is carrying out drone attacks using Iranian drones on countries all around the Middle East in a way to try.
Again, we're only playing these videos because we're trying to determine the truth. We're not saying any of this is true or false. We're trying to get the conversation going. What do you think? Your opinion is what matters ultimately. Who knows? What if all of this was AI? What if all of this entire war was AI? You can make and Grok AI, you can literally make these videos. And isn't there a specific reason that the X algorithm is making rules today against accounts that make AI footage of war? That's pretty, you got to think about it. So it's like, why can't the government make these AI videos of war and just tell you it's real? It's already so realistic. I've already seen videos that are AI that I thought were real, and I got duped. And I know you did too. So it's like many people have been duped by the AI. And who knows if this entire war was AI? I'm not saying it is, obviously. We're going to stick to the facts. We obviously know that it's a real war. But the point I'm making is that, again, we don't know what's true. We don't know what's false, but it's appearing to be true. And that is why we're covering this, because we're trying to determine if it is true.
Drag these countries into the war to fight in support of Israel against Iran, because it seems at the moment that Israel and the US have massively underestimated Iran, and they need these countries' support
Definitely
to finish
did.
the war.
Yeah, we definitely underestimated Iran by a lot. I didn't, but our government 100% did.
Because if they don't get it, it seems like the war might go on for a lot longer than they expected. And so we have no confirmation of this, and I am not giving an opinion on this. I'm saying what's being reported for legal reasons. But it seems like Israel might be carrying out false flag attacks to drag other countries into the war. This is a huge deal.
What do you think? Is that true? Do you think that could be a possibility? I sure do. I think it is possible, but who knows? Who knows? Breaking news, UK and France are sending warships to the Middle East. What do you think about this? And then I wanted to go over this last clip by this same account, last little clip here, because again, we're covering the war events and the news headlines that have happened today and that are going viral today.
The UK and France are sending warships to the Middle East to fight against Iran, and you need to know what's about to happen. But first, this actually comes in response to Iran starting to fire drones and missiles towards Eastern Europe, and they're actually causing damage. Today, an Iranian missile was shot down over Turkey, and over the last few days, Iran has carried out attacks onto Cyprus, specifically the UK military base that is in Cyprus, RAF at Kritiri. Iran actually landed a successful drone strike onto the runway there. And so in response to that, the UK and France are now sending warships to the Middle East to shoot down any Iranian missiles and drones.
Like, why? Why are we doing this? Why is every country doing this? Like, it makes no sense. It's so bad for the planet. It's bad for the future. Our Keir Starmer and all of these people are they are losing their minds. These are people who are unfit for power in so many ways, that they are like children. These are like, it's like handing like 11-year-olds power who are playing king and whatever. They're playing like chess, and there's like these 10-year-olds, they're playing chess, and they really think they're kings. They really think they're going to take over the world, and it's like, holy crap, it's actually working.
It said, quote, "We're doing this to bolster drone defense for our Cypriot partners." And one of those warships is the UK's HMS Dragon, a Type 45 warship.
Oh my God, is that really the best they got?
Is far more powerful than you think. It's equipped with a Sea Viper air defense system, which is capable of launching 8
Oh, I wonder who paid for that.
missiles in under 10 seconds
America.
and guiding over 16 simultaneously. The UK said, quote, "We are fully committed to the security of Cyprus and British military personnel based there." They also said, quote, "We will always act in the interest of the UK and our allies." France, though, has announced that they're sending an aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean to participate in this as well. And I'm sure with that aircraft carrier will be an entire strike group, like there normally would be, destroyers, frigates, etc. And France also said, quote, "We will continue this effort as much as necessary." And so the UK and France are starting to get involved in this now, and this war is quickly turning into a much bigger war.
Yes, it
with
is.
many other more powerful countries coming in to join it. And so this only seems to be escalating and getting bigger. And so leave me a follow, because I'm keeping you up to date on everything you need to know.
Yeah, leave him a follow. He's been covering the war events. Alex Barnicoat, great account. Follow him on X. Lots of great content there. Also, be sure to follow Jonathan Romy. Shalom, my fans. Thanks for praying with me, friends. Always, and again, if you didn't know, Jonathan Romy, he played Jesus in the movie The Chosen, in the show The Chosen, the movie. I never got to see it yet, but I saw some clips, and it's amazing. Recommend for everybody, but check that out for sure. When you get a chance, follow him. He's a great guy, great person, great human being. And because of YouTube, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to play this, but instead of playing it, I'll just kind of recommend the content to you. So Mr. Red Pill Joka Q Army, that's such a crazy name, or just at Jock AQ Army 1. Follow him, and he has some good content following this video that I was going to play, but I think I'm going to stay away from it just because, YouTube, and want to stay within the guidelines. Curtis Yarvin, they will not resist, so I did want to play this
Mass
video.
immigration is not 2 million people entering.
So what do you think about this? And I think this is very true. Something to think about when it comes to mass migration, how dangerous this issue actually is, the psychology of it, how fast you can actually lose your country. So let's listen.
Look a bit like mass immigration. Like, no, we've not seen mass immigration. We have no idea what mass immigration is. Mass immigration is not 2 million people entering.
Actually, I'm not going to play this because there's music, so I don't want to get copyright, so we're not going to play that. So we'll just keep moving on. But this, we will go to, and basically to cover what he talks about in this video, he talks about how with mass migration, when you have enough of these people coming into one place, so let's just say you have a village of 100 people, and then if another village from across the sea has 1,000 people, and they come over to your village, guess what? 1,000 versus 100, kind of out of luck, aren't you? And suddenly, that little village of 100 people becomes the village of 1,000 people. And it just kind of becomes that village of 1,000 people, whatever makeup of people that was. So land is not owned by the, it's not owned by a person, it's owned by the people, right? The people, a unified people is what is able to hold and defend land. So if you want to buy land, you want to invest in land, you need to work with me, Brandon Ecker. I'll be your real estate agent. I'll represent you. I also wanted to go over this clip from Sean Ryan. The temple will never be rebuilt. Julian the apostate tried to rebuild it, and it was destroyed in the process. Christ put an end to the Jewish sacrifice on purpose. He gave them one generation to convert to Christianity, and then when they didn't, he put an end to their sacrifice. There hasn't been practicing Jews in 2,000 years because the temple hasn't been around. So again, I did want to react to this and kind of see what people had to say about it, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was insightful, and let's take a listen. This is the Sean Ryan Show. He got a lot of good content. He's been covering some good stuff, so be sure to give him a follow.
What about the temple?
Why is this important? Again, if you didn't know already, Iran, Israel at war right now. All of this, allegedly, according to our own politicians, Pete Hegseth, they believe that this is a biblical war, and they're trying to bring forth the second coming of Christ with this war, the revelations, the apocalypse, the biblical apocalypse. And so this is what our politicians are trying to do globally, worldwide. They're trying to execute this plan because The Jewish people believe that their Messiah has not arrived yet. And the Christians, obviously, we believe that Christ was the Messiah and that his second coming is to come soon. So all of these things are kind of coming into culmination at the same time. So that's why during this war, we're covering theology at the same time and religion. And we're covering Judaism and Christianity and what these things mean. We're covering the questions of these things and what the people have to say. What do you have to say? Ultimately, it's your opinion that matters most.
According to the fathers of the church, at least the ones that I've read, they said the temple will never be rebuilt. And the reason, it will never be rebuilt. And the reason being is because, first of all, Julian the Apostate tried to rebuild it, and it was destroyed in the process. Christ actually put an end to the Jewish sacrifice on purpose, because the Jewish sacrifice in the Old Testament was a lead-up or a prefigurement of Christ. And so he gave them one generation in order for them to convert to Christianity, and when they didn't, he put an end to their sacrifice. So technically speaking, there hasn't been practicing Jews in 2,000 years because the temple hasn't been around.
Well, there has been
sacrifice. Doesn't mean that they don't pray.
They just do it in secret. They kind of do it in their synagogues
and things of that sort, but they haven't been able to enact their primary religious duties, which is to offer sacrifice. Plus, their Levitic line, which is
again, this is not. We're not determining all of this to be truth or fiction. We're just we're trying to determine the truth. We're trying to find the truth. We're analyzing here.
The priestly line was destroyed. So, but then, and the difficulty is people tend to misinterpret the book of Daniel, which says when the abomination of desolation takes its seat in the temple. What they don't realize is that is not a reference to the Jewish temple. That's where the Protestants are getting it wrong. So a lot of the Protestants are thinking, oh, well, let's help the Jews rebuild the temple, and then that will usher in, because Christ is going to return, after they think the temple is going to be rebuilt. And then as a result of that, the temple has to be rebuilt in order for the Antichrist to put himself in there.
And again, this is the overall goal, okay? That when you hear Pete Hegseth talking about how we're going to go harder than ever before, and when you hear about U.S. Army commanders and telling their entire U.S. Army team, they're telling their platoons, like, hey, don't worry, guys, your death, your potential death is going to be worth it because we are doing this for the second coming of Christ. But then that leaves the question, what happens to the Muslims who are fighting, right? Like, what happens to the Muslim Americans or whatever, right? Like, you have American soldiers who are not Christian. We have to be fair about this issue, obviously. You have African American U.S. troops, right? Maybe they're not Christians. Maybe not all of them are Christian, right? So we have this entire Christian, this Judeo-Christian biblical prophecy that's being attempted to be turned into a reality by our politicians, by our war leaders, and all of this stuff. And because, really, you think they care about the Bible? You think they really care? Because if they did, they wouldn't. They certainly would think twice about the innocent civilians that are getting killed in all of this, right? U.S. troops, Iranian people, regardless. So if they really cared, they wouldn't be the ones taking initiative to do all of this. No, I think it's more about money. I think it's more about power. I think it's more about securing power and making sure that, again, certain secrets even are not being exposed. Again, hashtag Epstein files, right?
Let's do that so that the Antichrist will come, and then that means that Christ will come, and that's kind of their reasoning behind it. Well, first of all, just getting through the years of the Antichrist is going to be brutal, so I wouldn't be pushing that. But the fathers of the church are very clear that it will never be rebuilt, and that the reference to the abomination of desolation taking its seat in the temple is actually a reference to the Catholic Church. That's what the fathers say it's a reference to. That there's going to be some way in which the situation in the church will become compromised to such a degree. It doesn't mean that people have to know it, but its essential elements will still remain intact.
Compromised, key word there.
But that the Catholic Church itself would become compromised in that process.
Jeez.
The Catholic Church, I believe, has already been compromised to a very large degree and infiltrated. And the Archbishop had already made a video saying that.
So Michael, the general belief among the theologians and who have studied this and that type of thing is that he's actually one of the archangels. So he's from the second of the lowest ranks. So which is actually one of the reasons why it's so humiliating for Satan to get, kicked out of heaven by him is because it was humiliating. But as Thomas Aquinas says, anybody in heaven has what they call prelation over anything below them. And so those in hell, anybody in heaven can cast
That's very interesting.
out any demon in hell, God permitting. But St. Michael is, most people are unaware of that. St. Michael is actually the guardian angel of the elect. So those who are, God has pre-chosen that they're going to go to heaven. And so they're actually...
God is pre-chosen for certain people to go to heaven.
Yeah, because God, if you remember, it's actually part of divine revelation. Christ said, many are called, but few are chosen. And it's God
Chosen. There's that word again in 2026, chosen.
who chooses. It doesn't mean that we don't cooperate in that process. We have to cooperate in the lead.
Now, this is important to interject here, because what he's saying, what the key word he said there was chosen. And so what are we hearing today in the rhetoric? That the Jews are the chosen people. That is what the Bible says, that the Jews are the chosen people, a witness people. And that's what the Catholics believe, the Christians believe. So with all of this, the rabbis have had a lot of authority over what kind of pertains to the future and what pertains to the interpretations of the text, whether it's the Holy Bible or if it's the Torah, the Talmud. Again, as a Catholic myself, I just don't believe these two things really are the same thing. They're not. Christianity and Judaism are not the same thing. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christianity, like there is, but it's not, it's almost kind of a joke to any serious theologian. Anybody who's serious about religion and really studies it, you understand that these are not the same thing. They're actually quite the opposite religions.
Up to it, but ultimately it's God who gives us the final grace to make to bridge the gap between ourselves and Him.
We also have to remember that, with the New Testament, and this is the difference between the Jewish beliefs and the Christian beliefs. The Jews believe that, Christ was never the Messiah, so he never had the authority to ever say who was or was not chosen. Right, and so there was this debate, really since Christ, the first Christian, hence his last name. And so with that being said, Jesus, with everything that we know now about Christianity, Judaism, we understand that the real Christians, that the real Jews, so to speak, in the Bible, if you actually interpret it correctly, the New Testament that was written pretty much declares that those who believe in Christ, those who give their heart and soul to Christ, to the cross, to the crucifix, to Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, who commit their spirit and their heart and their soul, then they will be they will be the true state of Israel, and that spiritual meaning, that biblical interpretation, that it is the modern Christian who is technically the real saved. And that is the whole contention, the debate between Jews and Christians, and what we're having today, why we're having this conversation, why there's people talking about this like myself and like others.
Right. But so in the Catholic Church, we actually we call it a non-mutual predestination. We believe that God chooses who gets to go to heaven, but and there's indications of that. But if you end up in hell, that's your own fault, because if you would have cooperated with God, you could have made it to heaven, type of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the guardian angel of the elect. So that meant that that's why it was his job to kick out the demons from the company of the angels that remained faithful, who were the elect. And so he's the one that kicked him out of heaven. Because he's the guardian angel of the elect, that also means...
Again, if you're tuning into this show, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Spread the information. And if you want to work with me, shoot me a DM, leave a comment, and we'll see what your situation is, help you in real estate, help you in digital marketing, whatever it might be that you need help with, getting leads, website, SEO. I help with all of that stuff. So be sure to work with me if you need to. The reason we're showing this video, again, is because we're trying to make the connections to this holy war that we're seeing in the Middle East right now. The Iran war, the Israel war, whatever you want to call it. Why is it happening? Why is America, modern day Rome, why are we involved, right? And so that's why we're kind of breaking this video down, listening to a priest kind of break down the differences between the different theories of, the end times and the different angels and all of these things, how it actually is structured, how it actually works.
That he became the guardian angel of the Jews, the Jewish religion, in the beginning, because they were the chosen people. But once, according to the fathers of the church, they apostatized and rejected Christ, they ceased being the chosen religion and the chosen people. And now it's transferred to Christians who believe in Christ. They are now those who are he's the guardian angel of the elect.
And that is the whole purpose for the New Testament. That is why the New Testament was written. Those who believe in Christ are the spirit and the blood of Abraham.
Of those of us who believe in Christ. And so that's actually also why historically the saints have talked about how when a person who is destined to go to heaven dies, it's Saint Michael who accompanies them into God's presence.
Crazy.
So we're the chosen people now.
Yes,
Anybody who believes in Christ is
right.
chosen.
That's right.
And that's the New Testament. That's what he forgot to mention here. But it is the New Testament that basically writes all of this. That is the story. So it goes.
Which is actually the big mistake that people make. Is
And you know what's interesting is that even the Muslims believe that Christ was a prophet. They don't believe that he was the Messiah, or do they believe he was the Messiah? I think they do believe he was the Messiah. They just believe that Christ was lifted up, or somebody else was put in his place, and that he was lifted up to heaven. So really striking the similarities between Christianity and Islam, and a lot of the ways that these religions have been subverted are very interesting when you actually do the research. Both Christianity, Catholicism, and then Islam, and how these two religions have actually been set against each other, specifically so that the Christians and the Muslims never, combat or fight against the Jews. And again, this is the religious theories. This is kind of the way that it's always been, the doctrines of these three religions. They've kind of fought for supremacy over the earth and over the influence of the earth for pretty much of all time. If you really study the histories too, you'll see it. Even in, I believe it was France or Austria or Germany, I can't remember the history quite well, but one of these kings required people to choose a religion, whether it was you had to be a Roman Catholic, you had to choose Judaism, or you had to choose Islam. And so you had to choose one of three religions, is what it came down to. So a lot of people either chose Christianity or Catholicism, and a lot of people chose Judaism. And then there were some who went east, or to the Middle East, and they ended up becoming Muslim, and they stayed with their own religion.
Thinking that they're the Jews are the chosen people. They were, but they rejected their inheritance. They refused to accept Christ, because even the Jewish religion was ultimately a lead up to and a partial revelation in relationship to Christ. So once he came, this is why Christ was so harsh on them. The first time I read this, I was stunned. St. Thomas Aquinas actually makes the observation.
And really, it's also important to note that when Jesus was on earth, a lot of it's not that he was even talking to all of the Jewish people, because Jesus Christ was a Jew. So as far as what we know, Jesus was a Jew. He was talking to the Pharisees, and that's who we're dealing with today. When you have these people in Congress, you have these powerful, wealthy people who have interpreted the text in their own way. These are the modern day Pharisees. The wealthiest, the most powerful, they control everything. Okay? And so the modern day Pharisees, that's kind of the equivalency of what Christ was fighting again, or fighting back then. Right? So it's not all Jews, it is the spirit of the Pharisee. And that's a big part of this, that a lot of theologians and Christians, they don't really discuss this, and they don't break into it too much. But to me, that's kind of what I've interpreted to be true.
That the prophets and the patriarchs of the Jews actually knew that God was triune, and they knew he was going to become incarnate. They knew this because we see this in the book of Isaiah. It's revealed in the book of Isaiah, and it's revealed in various parts of Scripture so the Jews actually knew this. This is why Christ was so harsh on the Jews, that when he came, he said, you guys knew this. You're calling me that make myself equal to the Son of God. You knew that God was going to become incarnate. Is basically what's being taught there. So the point being is that the fact that they apostatized and rejected ultimately God in the end, which is why they ceased being the chosen people, which is why God gives them that, as I mentioned before, he gives them maybe I didn't mention it to you, but he gave them one generation. So after Christ dies in the year 70 AD, the Romans destroy Jerusalem, and that's why now none of the Jews are practicing their religion, because none of them are offering sacrifice.
Well, they do. Again, today they are. The Jews have become very powerful, and they are having many, many children, which is great. But that is the truth. That's what's happening.
That doesn't mean that they're not living up according to certain parts of the Old Testament and things of that sort, but they're not actually performing the ceremonial laws.
Interesting.
And that's why they're
Now
so
they have
driven
like new ceremonial laws
to rebuild the temple.
and they're not good ceremonial laws. They don't match the original Jewish religion, and that's kind of the big contention of our time, what we're dealing with today, the big issues. So what do you guys think about that issue? What do you guys think about that breakdown? It's a touchy subject. It's a touchy one. It's not so easy to talk about, but it's important. Okay, so again, more predictive history. I really want to cover his channel and go deep on his channel because he just has such good content.
That the generals.
Okay. So again, he breaks it down pretty well. We were talking about how the United States Army, essentially their commander, wrote this letter to the platoon, informing them, oh yeah, hey guys, don't worry, it's okay. All of this war with Iran is totally worth it. It's all for the apocalypse. It's all good. It's for when Christ is coming back for the second time. And then you had people who weren't Christians or weren't Jews or whatever, and they said, dude, what? I don't want to go and die for this. I don't even believe in this. So this is what he's about to break down right here.
The soldiers are being asked, the American soldiers are being asked to fight this war. And again, no one knows why this war is happening.
Seriously.
But there's reporting that the
Makes no
generals
sense.
are telling the soldier.
It only makes sense for oil. It only makes sense if you're talking about power. And it doesn't make sense if you're talking about keeping power long term for America. It's going to crush America. This is going to be the war that destroys us and gives our enemies exactly what they want, what they've been waiting for the United States to abuse its military prowess and power, to use it to expose our cards to the entire world. And so then all these other countries are going to reverse engineer all of our tech. They're going to create everything that we created. They're going to steal all of our ideas, all of our stuff, all of our intellectual property, and then they're just going to go and do all of the same stuff. And then one day they're going to enslave our grandkids in retaliation. Okay, that is the issue with this. And they think that this is all going to work out. This is the end times. This is what they believe. So we're all going away. We're all going to die. It's like, you can't let people like this rule. This is not something we should allow to happen. No world leader should try to rule this out. No world leader should try to bring about these times. I certainly don't think that that's even in the Bible at all. This is a God-made event. And ultimately, this is a man-made war.
This is a war for Jesus. This is a war to...
And again, let me rewind a little bit to give you context. Again, he's talking about a letter that was written to the U.S. troops, and they were told the Iran war is Armageddon and the return of Jesus. So it's like, come on,
The soldiers are being asked...
But do you really think Trump believes that? Do you really think Pete Hegseth actually believes that? I know he's a Christian. I know he's a Catholic, but it's like, I don't think so. I really don't.
Soldiers are being asked to fight this war. And again, no one knows why this war is happening. But there's reporting that the generals are telling the soldiers, this is a war for Jesus. This is a war to create the second coming of Jesus. Okay? This is Jonathan Larson, and he's writing this on Substack. Okay?
And again, in my opinion, they are making this so bad. They're going to make this experience so bad for everybody that Christ is going to be like, I really actually got to come down because these people did this. Like, that's what it's going to be. And it's going to be our own doing. So perhaps this is the second coming only because we're forcing it. This isn't natural. This isn't God's doing, in my opinion. Yes, God has allowed it to happen. We can have that conversation, but it certainly seems to me all orchestrated. This is the conspiracy in the meeting of the minds of multiple people and over a long period of time. Okay, a commercial real estate deal is 7 to 10 years. A lot of you people don't even understand that because you're not a real estate investor. You don't understand how this works, but a real estate deal is 7 to 10 years. And think about what these politicians, these business people, these bureaucrats, right? I'm saying this as an entrepreneur. I have experience working with these people, and I'm telling you, they think about 7 to 10 year time cycles for real estate. And then you connect all the dots. What is being built in Gaza right now? They pretty much cleared Gaza, and then what are they making with it right now? They're building New Gaza City. And this is going to be allegedly, it's going to have a shrine of Trump in there. This was a video that Trump reposted. It was this edit that somebody had made. And Trump is going to be like the statue in Gaza and all of these things. And so this is what it's all about. The Abraham Accords is this real estate transaction, this deal that has been whipped up by Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, husband to Ivanka Trump. And this entire real estate deal, this real estate transaction, that's what this is. That's all this is. So they're pretty much creating this entire biblical narrative, this excuse, this is the second coming of Christ. This is all for real estate. And that's kind of the way I see it. This is the Abraham Accords. This is to build a new city in Gaza. This is obviously to give the Jews their land that they want. And that is the objective here. And because our country does have, we have this fifth column, and we have this fight for control over our White House and our Senate and our Congress and all of these things, this is what happens. This is the transfer of power that you're watching. And then, giving these kind of excuses, these biblical reasons to get ourselves into a war when do you really, again, I ask you one more time, do you really think the war leaders, you think the warlords really care in your country? Do you think Trump or Barack Obama or any of these people with hundreds of billions of dollars or tens of billions or a couple billion, whatever, you think they really, really are thinking about the Bible every night? I just don't. And I don't buy it. And so this, to me, is obviously a war that we should not be getting into.
U.S. troops were told Iran war is for Armageddon, the return of Jesus.
Armageddon.
Well, what is this? Okay, so...
Armageddon out of here.
Some soldiers who are not Christians were told that this is a war for Jesus, and like, wait a minute, we're not Christians, we're Muslims or we're atheists. Why are we fighting this war?
Yeah.
And so they filed a complaint about this speech, okay? And we're going to read a part of this email that the soldiers who were dissenting sent to some other people to complain about this, okay? So, could you read, please?
I am a NCO rank withheld in our unit. This morning, our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us to not be afraid as to what is happening with our combat operations in Iran right now.
Okay, afraid.
Yeah.
That's what it tells us.
So they're telling all of the soldiers to not be afraid, and all of this language, all part of God's divine plan. He specifically, again, all of this referring to the book of Revelations in the Holy Bible. And then again, you have all these U.S. troops who aren't even Christians. They're not even Christians. They're not Catholics. They're Muslims or whatever other religion, atheists even. And they're supposed to just be on board with this notion that this entire war is for the biblical prophecy of Armageddon. Like, come on. Like, I'd never buy that. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic. I don't believe that. That's bullshit. And we all know it.
They're losing the war. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Bad.
He urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically
Wait a minute
referenced-
here. Wait a minute. God's divine plan? God's not the one ordering them to fight this war. It's Trump or the American military, okay? This is kind of weird.
Yes, we need to stick to the facts and be objective about the actual reality. These are human beings. These are men, okay, who are conspiring all of this together. These are grown men, politicians, wealthy billionaires. Like, they really care about the Bible or the story of the Bible. They haven't probably picked up a Bible in decades.
And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said that President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth.
Oh my God. President Trump, the fire in Iran. It's all part of a grand plan to destroy the world so that Jesus will return. What is this crap? Okay, keep on going.
It's pure insanity. That's what it is.
He had a big grin on his face.
Okay, he's happy about this, guys. The world is ending. Yeah! Keep on going.
Should tell you everything you need to know.
All of this, which made his message seem even more crazy. Our commander would probably be described as a Christian first supporter. He's been this way for a very long time and makes it clear that he desires all of us under him to become just like him as a Christian. But what he did this morning was so toxic and over the line that it shocked many of us in attendance
100%.
at the ops readiness briefing.
Just to get your men on board to fight and die for not even their own country, not even their own land of principles or ideals. I'll tell you what, Christ would never want U.S. soldiers to go over and die for the very people who killed him.
Breathing.
And I'm talking about the Israelis so here, okay? I'm talking about the Jews. Yes, the Romans killed Christ because we nailed him to the cross. But ultimately, who condemned Jesus to death? It was the Jews, okay? That is the facts. So it's like, ultimately, why would Christ ever want to send American troops or any troops whatsoever? Let's just objectively, Christ would never want to send anybody to die in a war, okay? Anybody. And, you could say that. You can argue that all day long that, well, God was a violent God in the Bible. When I read the Bible, God's a violent God. It's like, okay, but the interpretations of these texts also have to be so carefully done. You don't understand what happened 2,000 plus years ago. Okay, it's insane to think that. If we weren't there, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to understand these stories as texts. You have to understand that the Freemasons and the rabbis have all manipulated the Holy Bible for their own objectives and reasons. The entire religion of Christianity and Catholicism has been subverted. Look at the Catholic Church today. Well, look at what they believe in. Okay, I'm not saying the Pope is bad, but I'm saying, it's definitely 100% been occupied. Look at the last Pope. So, ultimately, these are human beings. These are men who are putting this war together. This is, I will agree, an Antichrist spirit, the spirit of the Antichrist. And so you could argue maybe this entire story refers to the spirit of the Antichrist versus an actual physical event. Who knows? But we're breaking it down. We're trying to understand the minds of these people in power and why they're thinking this way. In my opinion, it's obvious. They want to secure power. They want to keep their power. They don't want to die. They're getting old, and they don't want to die. They don't want to lose their power. They don't want to be irrelevant to the world, so they're going to bring it all down and just reign over the ashes.
Besides myself, I am reaching out to MRFF on behalf of 15 fellow troops. I know you asked me about the religious views of our group who has requested help from the MRFF. I can only tell you that I am Christian, and at least 10 of the others are also Christians. One of the others is Jewish and one is Muslim. I don't know the religious or non-religious status for the other 3 at this time.
Okay, so what is happening is that there's some crazy Christian.
That'd be really tough. That would be really tough to fight with a bunch of people of a different religion. I'll tell you that right now. That'd be really tough, especially during this specific time.
In the American military, in the American government, okay, that want to use this war to end the world, to force Jesus to return. That is why this war is happening. Okay, I'm not saying
Absolutely 100% agree.
that this is the reason why. I'm saying this is a possibility, okay?
Huge part of it.
Okay? All right, this is Trump, and these are all religious leaders that support Trump because they see him as the Messiah.
And they're not Christians, though. That's the thing. They're Zionists. That's the one thing he's not saying. They are Zionists.
They see him as this great hero who will cause the triumph of Christianity and the return of Jesus. And that's a possibility as to why this war is being fought.
Absolutely. And there also has to be an understanding that, there are 2 kinds of Christians. Okay, Muslims, if Muslims are listening to this show, you should understand there are 2 kinds of Christians. There are educated Christians, and then there are Judeo-Christians. Judeo-Christians do not understand the history. They don't understand the history of Christianity, Catholicism. They don't take the religion seriously yet. They're possibly new to the religion, or they're really not taking it as seriously as they should be. And so oftentimes you have 2 kinds of Christian. You have the Judeo-Christian, and it's a very basic kind of Christian, and they know very little. They believe in peace, they believe in love, all these good things. They believe in Christ. They believe in following the 10 Commandments, right? Basic stuff. But a lot of those same Christians don't even know the 10 Commandments. They couldn't list them off for you, right? And then there are the other Christians, and I would call these Crusader type Christians, okay? And these Crusader type Christians are Christians who typically have a more deep understanding of the Catholic doctrines, the Jewish doctrines, the Islamic doctrines, and you understand all of these different religions. It's why I call it educated Christians. Because the educated Christians understand what this entire scheme is. The educated Christians know that there is no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. That's actually not real. It's actually this thing that was made up to really subvert the entire religion of Christianity into something that it's not. Okay, so and this happens over and over and over again throughout history. Happens all the time to religions.
Okay? Because quite honestly, there's no other reason. It's hard for me to come up with another reason, okay? All right. So this is something that we will look at.
And again, my other reason for all of this, like I said before, I think a big reason for this entire Gaza war and everything you've been seeing, it's really for real estate. It's a real estate deal. Okay, and I'm saying this as a real estate agent. Like, this is a real estate deal. This is the state of Israel, which was formerly Palestine and still should be called Palestine, in my opinion. And this, you know, they want their own land. They want their homes. They want to develop a new city, their own place, their own people. And that is what is happening. This is a real estate deal. At a fundamental level, at a factual level, this is a real estate deal. They are building new real estate. It's called the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords. And that is what is happening. Breaking Turkish FM, Hakan Fidan. We are aware of every game being played. Let it be known to the world that we have the power to stop them. Again, you got Turkish FM and their military giving out ads. So what do you guys think? It's here. World War III is here. Yep. There's no way around it. This is Tel Aviv just 2 hours ago. I don't know what they're saying. I don't speak Israeli. But what I'm watching in the video, if you're listening to this and not able to watch, we're watching what looks like an Israeli fire department putting out a fire in a building in Israel, Tel Aviv. And this is after Iranian cluster missiles ended up striking, I believe. So again, it shows them putting out the fire, buildings destroyed, collapsed, fires coming out the windows. See the fire hoses all over the place. So yeah, this is World War III. It's very sad to see. You know, we don't wish for anyone to die during this war. We don't wish for any harm to be done. We want peace. Okay, Catholics want peace. Christians want peace. This is what we want. This is the truth. We don't want anybody to die. And so this war is terrible, and it's not good for anybody. And so everyone needs to know the extent of what the U.S. did. An unarmed Iranian ship invited a joint Indian naval exercise paraded into its sailors before the president alongside other participants, including the U.S. At the last minute, the U.S. withdrew the exercise and torpedoed the Iranian vessel, then reportedly refused to rescue the survivors, leaving the Sri Lankan Navy to recover bodies from the water. So again, what you just saw was a video of an Iranian naval ship, seems to be moving over here to right into the Strait of Hormuz, and a U.S. Submarine ends up launching a torpedo, takes out the Iranian naval vessel, allegedly unarmed or unmanned. So who knows? Or not unmanned, unarmed, and then the men were never saved by U.S. military. According to Polymarket, cost estimates for special military operation in Iran project is up to $184 billion. That's crazy. $184 billion in U.S. taxpayer expenditures by September 1st. What are they planning? What are they planning for us? $184 billion. That is almost as much as Elon Musk's net worth. That's almost as much as Larry Ellison's net worth. Think about that one for a second. That's a lot of money. $184 billion, and not one penny of that is going to go to the U.S. taxpayer. It's going to get taken out of the U.S. taxpayers' pockets. Bad things are coming. I'm talking tax hikes. I'm talking inflation rate hikes, gas price hikes. I'm talking, if this war persists the way that it is, we are looking at an economic Great Depression, and I'm predicting that now. Unless we don't go to war. If we can stop this war, if we somehow reverse this all of a sudden, perhaps there could be a conclusion. But we will see. War is never holy, only peace is holy, because it is willed by God. This is according to Pope Leo. All right? So let's take a listen to this. This is important, an important message for everybody in the world to listen
Mai
to.
la guerra è santa.
War is never
Solo la
holy, only peace is holy.
pace è santa, perché è voluta da
Because
Dio.
it is willed by God. And so that was what the Pope had to say. It's very true. Oh, crap. I accidentally clicked on this. One moment. Okay, we're back to where we were at. Just in, according to the Russia news, Erdogan's first response following the missile attack on Turkey: we will certainly build the century of Turkey. We will defeat all conspiracies, overcome every obstacle, and we will not fall into the traps they want to drag us into. So here's the statements from him.
Türkiye yüzyılını mutlaka inşa edeceğiz. Bütün oyunları bozacak, bütün engelleri
We will foil all conspiracies and overcome all obstacles.
Bizi çekmek istedikleri tuzaklara düşmeden bu ülkeyi
Without falling into the traps they want to lure us into, we will definitely build Turkey's country. We will foil all conspiracies and overcome all obstacles without falling into the traps they want to lure us into. Again. So I read that a couple times for you just to make sure that you heard it, because it's just extremely important. President Trump had a great introduction of Marco Rubio at the White House. He will go down as the best Secretary of State in country's history. Definitely disagree with that. I don't want him to get too popular, though. When they get too popular, all of a sudden you'll see where's Marco? Not around anymore. So that's a little weird. Interesting statement here. Let's see.
As well as proud Miami sports fan, Secretary of State. I'm telling you, he's going to go down as the best Secretary of State in the country's history. Marco Rubio. I don't want him to get too popular.
That's so not true. No. Never Marco Rubio for president. Never J.D. Vance for president. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Republican. But I do not want war with Iran. I don't want war with any sovereign country unprovoked.
All of a sudden, you see, where's Marco? He's not around anymore. I don't see him. He's doing some job, and your next one is going to be, we want to do that special. He's waiting, but he says,
oh, it's going to be a long war.
Do them all at the same time, but bad things happen. If you watch countries over the years, you do them all too fast, bad things happen. We're not going to let anything bad happen to this country.
I sure hope so. We got to win now. Got us into a war we can't get out of. You better win. Representative Nagus, is that right? Just exposed a $143 million no-bid contract live on camera. The company has no headquarters, no website, no prior federal contracts. It was incorporated 8 days before receiving the contract. Its registered address belongs to a political operative. One of the subcontractors is a political firm tied directly to Kristi Noem from her time as South Dakota governor. Nagus asked Noem where the company is headquartered. I don't know, she said. $143 million of taxpayer dollar vanished into a ghost company connected to the Secretary of Homeland Security herself. This is the agency running Doge, cutting waste, eliminating fraud. So now we know why Elon Musk was kicked out all of a sudden. Elon Musk was cutting waste. He was cutting fraud in Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, and all of a sudden, Elon was kicked out, had a black eye, and then suddenly all the drama happened. All the drama started.
Two of them were
inaccurate, Madam
143 mil.
I'll read from the notice from your agency. Given the immediate action to significantly reduce illegal immigration and border crossings, DHS identified 4 companies. 4 of the hundreds of thousands of companies in the United States. You identified 4. One of those is this Safe America Media company. Where is Safe America Media headquartered?
I don't know.
I don't know either, Madam Secretary. We can't find it. We can't find a website. We did find it.
Oh, that's rough.
That's registered for this company. Do you know where that address is?
Is there a problem with this contract?
I'll
Because
tell you
was
about
done
it.
according to
Madam
law.
Secretary,
It
the
was done by career
address is
officials.
registered to a political
was
operative.
dollars
Madam
that
were spent.
Secretary, the
Yikes.
company, and then I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Yikes.
The company is registered to a political operative in Virginia. Do you know, just by way of example, whether this company that received $143 million in taxpayer dollars, has it ever done work for the government before?
I don't know. I can't.
The answer
I don't know.
is it has not. And do you know why we know that? Because it was incorporated 8 days. 8 days before this contract went out. You want the American people to believe that this is all above board?
Yes,
that $143 million of taxpayer money just happened to go to this one company?
Like, where does $143 million go? How do you lose track of $143 million? Seriously. Like, who underneath you or in that cabinet is responsible for handling those transactions is my question. We always go after the heads, but we never go after the heads and the accountants. Where's the accountants? Why is the accountant not testifying here?
That doesn't have a headquarters, doesn't have a website, has never done work for the federal government before, and is registered, apparently, or attached to a residence from a political operative. And of course, one of the subcontractors of that contract, as you know, is a
And again, this is why Kristi Noem's being fired
firm that's tied to
or being
you
replaced.
back when you were governor of South Dakota. The reason why I ask these questions is that this is taxpayer money.
Taxpayer fraud. It's taxpayer fraud. Like we're being defrauded as an American taxpayer. The American taxpayer is being defrauded. Even paying taxes today is total defraud. Okay, like you're getting defrauded just by paying your taxes. It's patriotic to not pay your taxes in some respects because, again, it was never originally a law that you had to pay your taxes. And so now they just want to take everything out of your paycheck. They want to take everything. They don't even know. The government doesn't even know what you owe them until you file. Think about how crazy this is. And the IRS has no connection virtually to the United States government or the U.S. Treasury or the Federal Reserve. No. And by the way, the Federal Reserve has no reserves, and it's not even federal. It's all bull. It's all fake.
And
They print more money every day, and we all pay our bills, and we continue complying so we can all get screwed. We work at that job so we can have that insurance so we can get screwed, and so that politicians like Kristi Noem or whoever it is takes and steals $143 million. And so they can have fat yachts, they can go on nice vacations, get private jets, hang out at Mar-a-Lago, at the White House, go hang out at Obama's estate, wherever it might be, Epstein's Island. That's the problem with America today.
I don't know this for a fact, but Senator Tillis noted yesterday the way in which your agency is blocking the Inspector General from 11 different investigations that it is trying to conduct. I don't know if this happens to be one of them. I certainly hope it is, because eventually the facts will become public in this regard.
Yep, facts don't care about feelings. Ben Shapiro. Facts don't care about feelings. Yep, so again today, officer down, tragic loss in the Ozarks in Missouri. Christian County Sheriff's Department, Gabriel Ramirez and Michael Hislop were killed in the line of duty. Deputy Ramirez, 30 years old, was shot during a traffic stop. Deputy Hislop, 40 years old, fell while aiding wounded officers in the ensuing manhunt. Both U.S. Army veterans, they are deeply remembered and honored by their families, colleagues, and the entire community. Rest in peace, heroes. So they commended them. God bless our law enforcement. Again, I know how hard the job is. Being a cop myself, I know it's tough. It ain't easy. It's hell. It's hell. It's unforgiving. Nobody really knows how tough the job is, really, until you're out there doing it. How I see so many videos where I used to think the same thing, where I'd see like cops do a certain thing. I'd be like, oh, how could they? And then I'd be like, well, if I was in that situation, it'd be tough because, under the guides of the law and blah, blah, blah. So it is crazy. It's unfortunate. But anyways, God bless law enforcement. Benjamin Netanyahu is meeting with members of the U.S. military. This was posted 7 hours ago by Shadow of Ezra, who are currently stationed at Air Force Base in Israel. Netanyahu says there is much work ahead with the U.S. military as he seeks to expand new targets in the Middle East. We continue to strike, he says. So let's listen to this. On the sixth day of Operation Roaring Lion, I am here at an Air Force base in southern, we'll just open the video up, southern Israel. With the wonderful pilots of ours and the United States, and the dedicated ground crews, the cooperation is historic between the U.S. military and the IDF. And between the Israeli Air Force and the U.S. Air Force, we continue to strike targets of the terror regime in Iran, along with terrorist elements in Lebanon. The achievements are great, but much work lies ahead. I would like to again thank my friend President Trump for the cooperation between us and between Israel and the United States. Together we move forward, and together we will achieve our goals, with God's help. Yeah, with God. I don't know how much God would really agree with any of this. Depends on what God they're praying to, right? So again, what you're seeing now on the screen is U.S. troops, and they've met with Netanyahu. They are ready to serve and fight, and basically, die for Prime Minister Netanyahu. So Israeli forces and U.S. forces are allying, and I just don't know how this is really supposed to work. I mean, with everything there is now that we know, it's like, just don't know how any of this really works out. Very, very, very strange. Trump renews the ultimatum for Iranian military to lay down their weapons or die. This was 3 hours ago.
And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian
Rewind it here
people and
real
help.
quick.
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military, and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity.
Yeah, and it's like, take back your country from what? Like, all of the people of Iran were loyal to Khamenei, you know, so take back their country from what? You know? America? They probably will.
Giving you really the right side
From Israel, I'm sure they will defend their land.
of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death. And I don't want to see that.
Oh, that is just such not a good look for the U.S. It's not who we are. It's not who we are as a nation. This is Tim Burchett. He is one of our Congress people. War Powers Act fails in some messaging bills. So let's take a listen to this. Love him. This Tim Burchett's awesome. Great, just a great role model for what a politician should be, how these guys should be, and just a true American.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. Let's see here. 4 bills. One was reaffirming Iran remained the largest state sponsor of terrorism. I suspect after that we will write them a tough letter. I'm not sure why we're doing that. We're bombing the hell out of them, but we're. I don't.
Yeah, even our own Congress people, they don't understand why we're doing this. And the ones who are fair-minded and who have a brainstem, this doesn't make sense. This is ridiculous. This is going to destroy our country. And it's just because of a few people. Because of a few people who are insane for power. And they want to hold their power. Netanyahu and then President Trump. And they just want to hold their power forever. And they want to get us into this war that is only going to cost Americans. And it's going to cost the Israeli people. It's going to cost the Iranian people. This is just going to be pure death, as Trump said.
But anyway.
For everybody. And it's not going to be good for Americans either. It's not going to be good for anybody. And it's like, if there was anybody in the White House listening to me, or if there was anybody in Congress listening, I would say, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Be practical. Be smart. Do what you signed up to do. Like, actually do your fucking job. Like, get us out of this war with Iran, and don't stand for it. Say something. And that's what I would say if there was any congressman or politician listening.
A resolution. Of course, the War Powers Act, that was voted down. And the Department of Homeland Security budget was passed. Had things we needed in there. Customs and Border Protection, ICE, TSA, Coast Guard, Secret Service, FEMA.
Crazy.
And the Office of Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction. So those are all good things. So we actually did a little bit of work today. So
getting some things done, but ultimately it's like, why are we're ignoring a lot. Yeah, and then we have this here. Tim Burchett, 60 or 81 grand. Listen, Tim Burchett, though, I mean, at the end of the day, he's done what he's had to do for the most part, at least speaking out against it. At least he's saying something, Again, a lot of these, I'm more mad at these politicians who have had like billions of dollars or like hundreds of millions, like Trump, $250 million from Maria Madelson, and then another $250 million coming in. Crazy. Breaking new video, U.S. Special Forces landed in the deserts in Iraq and clashed with Iran-backed proxies. Heavy clashes continue. It is reported that helicopter landings were carried out in strategic desert areas in the province of Anbar, Karbala, and Nahaf. They reported casualties and wounded. Note, video is confirmed from Nahaf deserts, but we cannot confirm the photo yet. Kurd alarm executive. So the video is confirmed that we're seeing here. This is U.S. Special Forces, and I can't remember if that said Iraq or Iran. I think it's Iran. But yep, boots are on the ground now. And it's real now. When the boots are on the ground, it's hard to get them off. It's going to be a long time. This is George Bush 2.0 that we're looking at right here. War with Iran, War in the Middle East, and guess what? Iran is bigger than Iraq. Yeah, sorry, this was in Iraq. They clashed in Iraq. Ran bad proxies. But it was with Iran bad proxies. Trump's commanders tells troops to prepare for Jesus. Yeah, we covered that story and all of that. Absolutely insane. Videos show American armored vehicles rolling towards the Iranian border through the Iraqi Kurdistan. Again, credit to Mario Nawfal. Follow him on Twitter X. I always tell people to follow him. He's got a great team of journalists who are constantly staying informed and updated on information. He's also pretty unbiased. He's pretty unbiased, sticks to the truth, really seeks the truth, and that's why I like his account. Red alert, EPA Chief Lee Zeldin confirms stratospheric chemical spraying, sulfur dioxide into the sky. Health risks are real. Looking into this confirms that dangerous chemicals, including sulfur dioxide, are being released into the sky for geoengineering. Health risks are real. Environmental damage is guaranteed. This is no longer a conspiracy. It's official. Geoengineering gone rogue. The U.S. government has funded it. The skies are full of it, and now the truth is official. The confession they never wanted you to hear. Follow me. The next drop will be shocking. Again, this came from John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr.
To total transparency, concerned Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects
We've already known this has existed for at least 3 decades.
honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government.
Much worse.
That
Censored.
era is over. The Trump EPA...
Kind of like me. I was censored for 3 years on YouTube before I was even able to come back.
...is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there.
Good.
That means anyone who reads through this information
Action speaks
will
louder
know
than words, though. Action speaks louder than words.
as much about these topics as I do as EPA administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? Or seen headlines about private
So they're finally coming out with the truth that chemtrails do exist, and that and contrails do exist, and that all of these things are actually a real reality.
actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming.
Bill Gates.
We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen.
EPA.gov/contrails and EPA.gov/geoengineering is where you can find these resources.
In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about
Now or never. If the Democrats win in 28, that's never coming out.
concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
And there you go. You can find those links again at EPA.gov or whatever it was there. And you can find that information there. So what do you think about all of the information happening? The war. We've pretty much covered all of the major stories. The House Iran war powers resolution to limit Trump from taking further military action against Iran without congressional approval has been voted down 219 to 212. Huge news. And yeah, that's pretty much the biggest news. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all we got for today. And I guess one last story because, I thought it was rather important. So I did post on November 8th, 2025, questioning 9/11 isn't conspiracy, it's civic duty. They just so happen to be right. The real conspiracy is Israel trying to protect the lie. Free speech isn't optional, it's the oxygen of truth. Let Candace, Tucker, and Fuentes breathe and speak. Facts don't care about your feelings, Ben Shapiro. And so again, this went viral. Got 9,400 likes on this post, 9,400 impressions, 305 likes, 62 retweets, and I've got like 9 comments. And I got a lot of people. I got one person who called me a Nazi. It's like, dude, I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. Never been a Nazi in my life. I am determining the truth. I'm trying to find the truth. That is what's happening. So let's take a look at this video and see what he had. 305 likes on this. And wonder why. And it's not going to load. I built all of that up for it to be so cool, so it couldn't load. See, the Matrix is watching me do this entire stream, and so they know, oh no, they can't watch this video. They can never see this 9/11 truth video that Brendan Ecker is trying to expose and play on his live stream. They're going to make it impossible for me to find it and to play it. Well, isn't that great? Isn't that just awesome? Let's see. Let's try this one more time. Will it work? Maybe it will.
And he is both the dumbest...
All right, let's rewind it.
This man is named Larry Silverstein, and he is both the dumbest and the luckiest businessman in the world.
Check this out.
He's the
This is
stupidest
crazy.
businessman in the world because 6 weeks before 9/11, he buys the lease to the World Trade Center. Okay? Why is that stupid? Because the World Trade Center has asbestos, like a dangerous chemical. So they had to clean or remove the asbestos. The problem is the cost of removing all that asbestos would have been more than the value of the Twin Towers. That's kind of stupid, okay? Why would you lease the Twin Towers knowing that you have to put all this money into renovation, which would bankrupt you?
Yeah,
also, what's stupid is to have the lease, you're required to have insurance, okay? And so the insurance company says, we value the World Trade Center at $1.5 billion.
$1.5 billion. Okay.
Okay? And Larry Silverstein says, no, it's not $1.5 billion. They are worth $3.5 billion. So he is asking to pay more insurance
Strange.
than he needed to. That's kind of stupid. But again, he's the luckiest man in the world because 9/11 happened, and guess what? He can now claim that 2 towers were struck, and therefore he should get twice as much as $3.55 million. He should get $7 billion.
Boom. And that's how it works.
And he sued, they went to court, and he got $4.55 billion. Okay? He's also lucky because he's a workaholic, he never misses work, but that day, because of a dermatology appointment, he had to miss work. He wasn't there when 9/11 happened.
Well, that's a strange
The luckiest
coincidence.
man in the world.
I'd say he's very lucky. Very lucky man. Larry Silverstein. Larry Silverstein, I got to hand it
This
to
man
you.
is named...
Isn't it interesting that Howard Lutnick also missed work that day on 9/11? Isn't it interesting that he never missed work also? Howard Lutnick was also known to always go to work, and then on the one day this happened, he was taking his daughter to school, which apparently he never did, allegedly. Isn't that interesting? Very interesting, I think. So, again, I wonder why that tweet ended up getting 305 likes, 85 archives, 62 retweets, and 9 comments. That was posted. I posted this in response to this video. This is by Richard Gage, the AIA architect. He stated that Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson have committed the unforgivable sin. It was interviewing Nick Fuentes or criticizing Israel or feuding with Ben Shapiro. It was questioning the neocons' scared cow 9/11, and we applaud them. Yes, we do. So this was the original video that I made that entire thing
We
for.
know that a group
and,
of Israeli
and it just
arts-
went crazy.
In high school, and my older sister's boyfriend made me watch a documentary. It was called Loose Change. I will never forget it. Never, ever forget it. I came out of watching that documentary, which I think if you looked it up today, it would say conspiracy theories about 9/11. But irrespective of how they want to categorize it, at the very least, you came out of it recognizing that not everything was told to the public about that day.
We know that a group of Israeli art students,
As we
who
can
clearly
see
were
now.
not art students, clearly some of them were aligned with Israeli intelligence, were arrested and held for quite some time in the United States
The dancing Israelis.
before being released without charges. And we know that a group of them, again, I'm quoting an FBI document here, not the internet, filmed the attacks on 9/11, and I'm quoting, seemed to have foreknowledge of those attacks.
Yep.
And watch this
Whole
clip
news report on
from
it.
our trusted news source, CNN. Take a listen.
Another development on Saturday, New York officials revealed at a news conference here in the city that a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that. No other details were given, but the discovery prompted the FBI and police to expand the search area. Down in
I
Lower
wonder whose that
Manhattan.
was.
I
wonder if
like
it was
how
some
even the
dancing
newscaster
Israelis.
says, if you can believe that, because nope, I refuse to believe that, and you should not either.
Somebody or group of people made massive bets against the airlines involved in the 9/11 attacks and against the banks housed in the buildings that fell. Okay, so that is proof. I think
Now we know that Lutnick and Larry Silverstein were both two men who benefited from all of this. Proven in the Epstein files for Howard Lutnick, and then for Larry Silverstein, as we just saw in the video that I posted, what was it, $4.55 billion after the cash out, after the taxes and everything. The insurance policy was very nice for Larry Silverstein for not going to work.
Person say that's
Luckiest
proof
man
of
alive.
foreknowledge.
Larry was quite lucky. He obtained the lease for the Twin Towers just 6 weeks prior to 9/11. 6 weeks prior. He obtained the lease,
And that's the video I just showed you.
and he
explaining
also took out an insurance policy, which fortunately included coverage for acts of terrorism. So when it came time to collect, when the towers went down, Silverstein claimed that there were 2 incidences of terror, since 2 buildings were hit by the planes, which allowed him to seek double indemnity. So to be clear, he
Yep.
collected $4.5 billion from insurance on the towers that he had invested.
It's a lot of money. What could you do with $4.55 billion? Is there a way to make $4.55 billion just going to work every day? I don't know. I don't think so.
In just 6 weeks prior to the 9/11 attacks. But by the way, Larry was even more lucky than that, unbelievably. Every morning, he used to have breakfast. He used to take breakfast meetings at the World Trade Center. But on the morning of 9/11, and by the way, this is according to Larry in interviews, he just broke his own routine. He, fortunately, on the morning of 9/11, had a dermatologist appointment. So he didn't take breakfast in the towers, and that spared his life.
What began to make
Very
me
lucky
wonder,
man.
and I have no idea what happened in 9/11, but
Wish I
it's
was that
very
lucky.
clear that there's a lot of lying around it,
And that was World Trade Center Building 7 that you just seen fell.
was the collapse of Building 7. And all the wackos would be like, Building 7, Building 7. I'd be like, shut up, wackos. And then if you just sort of look at it, you're like, well, that is very weird, actually. No plane hit that building. And does this happen a lot when buildings catch fire? Right, okay.
It's called a controlled demolition. Have you never watched one?
We talk about it. We're instantly called conspiracy theorists. We're instantly called 9/11 truthers. We're instantly called anti-Semitic. And let me tell you, the only word for all of this, if you're not interested, if you don't find this to be remarkably suspicious, if you don't realize that we were not told everything about 9/11, the only word, the only adjective that should be launched on you is you're anti-American. And that's worst of all. I'd rather
Bingo.
be called everything in the
I agree with
entire
that.
world than be called anti-American. And that's what these people in the media are. They're anti-American cowards.
And it's absolutely true. And so we'll end the entire episode with that. Typically, I do cover the markets a little bit, but we'll end it there. And we'll give my little synopsis. Listen, I think this entire war is stupid. I don't think we should be at war with Iran. I think this war is going to, again, it's going to cost the American taxpayer. It's not going to help the American taxpayer. It's not going to help Americans in any such way. Ultimately, all this is going to do is potentially roll out some form of an apocalyptic-like existence for everybody, whether it's for the Americans, whether it's for the Iranians, whether it's for the Jews. Everybody's going to suffer here because of this. And so the wiser thing to do would be to pull out right now, to reverse everything right now. What's crazy is that if America just said, we've changed our minds, we're not going to do this anymore, Iran would back down. They would literally say, okay, like, okay, we'd be willing to just stop. If you guys will stop, if you guys are serious and you'll actually stop, we'll stop. I wonder, I honestly bet they would. I bet most countries, if America said, we are done, we've chosen to give you mercy, we've chosen to not wipe out your whole country. And every other country knows that we could, by the way. Most countries who are smart, at least, they know we could. And it's like, if we were to just pull out, every other country would like be right on board with it. They would follow in sync, in unison, no problems. But we lead the way. And so everybody copies the leader, right? Everybody follows the leader, and America's the leader. And so this is not the standard. This is not the future of America. This isn't what the future of America represents in any such way. And I don't think the average American is ever going to be okay with this. I don't think the average American is okay with sending U.S. troops to die for a nation who really doesn't respect America. And you know who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Iran. I'm talking about some of our other so-called allies and adversaries, right? And so how do we get out of this? What is the solution? Well, the solution is the truth. The solution is information. The solution is power. You need to secure power. You need to secure knowledge so that you can secure power. You need to understand the history of America, of Judaism, of Christianity, of Islam. You should understand all of these religions. You should have a deep knowledge of it, because these tests, these litmus tests of intelligence, of knowledge, of religions will be thrown upon you, whether you like it or not. So that's kind of my advice. So if you want to work with me, by the way, I own Gold Shark Media AI, which is an AI systems company. We build AI systems and softwares for entrepreneurs, contractors particularly. And if you want to work with me in real estate, I'm an investor. I'm also a real estate agent, so I can help you with that transaction. You want to move to Michigan or something? I'm a Michigan real estate agent. I have the license there. So call me up. We'll figure out your situation, whether you're a multifamily investor, whether you're a residential property buyer, whether you're a seller. I'll work with you. Okay, so with that being said, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, support the show, support the movement, support the information. Come here to grow this platform, and ultimately that's what we're going to do. By the end of this, we're going to grow this channel, Ecker Geopolitics, as much as we possibly can with YouTube, and we're going to try to comply with YouTube as much as we can so that we can have a real platform of bringing information, truth, analysis more than anything, of course, because we want to leave a place for people to have an opinion. You know, that's what I'm doing here. I think not enough people are really giving their opinions on things. You know, you need to use your freedom of speech or you will lose your freedom of speech. And that's something that a lot of people just really forget. You need to use it or you lose it. So with that being said, stay prudent, stay powerful, and stay wealthy. I'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the Brendan Ecker channel, where we'll be covering business, news, AI, and the same things, but covering a little bit more of the markets and staying more focused on entrepreneurship and the future of that kind of field, right? Entrepreneurship, business, all of these things. See you next time.